Today is Palm Sunday, the start of Holy Week, when we remember Jesus' last days on earth. It's a dramatic story of pain, triumph and deep emotion on a scale that's both epic and very human. No wonder it's the greatest story ever told. And I'm in a place where stories and drama come to life on the big screen in the world's first UNESCO City of Film, which, believe it or not, is Bradford. Famous roles have been immortalised here by world-renowned actors like Yorkshire's own Tom Courtenay. Tom is going to remind us of the passages from the Bible which describe Jesus' last days, starting with Mark's Gospel, which tells how the Son of God arrived in Jerusalem on a humble donkey.
They brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, and others spread leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord."
Majesty and meekness, glory and suffering. Those are the themes of our hymns today from the congregation here at Bradford Cathedral, where we start with a hymn that unites both the spectacle and the pathos of Palm Sunday. And so the drama begins. Jesus enters Jerusalem as the first act in a week that will end with his crucifixion. Daryl Hackett stages the events of that week in a unique interpretation. This is a very odd way to mark Holy Week, isn't it?
Fantastic. I think what's really nice is it draws people in. I think the start of it in Jerusalem, as you're coming in, as Jesus coming in on a unicycle, it's obviously Jesus on the donkey, and that look into people's faces of that shock and like what's going on, a sense of surprise really. Jesus goes off on the unicycle onto the tight wire, and he's getting closer and closer to people. Then we've gone to the Last Supper, which is signified by plates spinning, and then Judas is signified by one of the plates taken off on a sickle and then sort of cast aside, which takes us to the garden scene and the betrayal. The idea with the knives really is just to create that tension, and then Judas appears from the background and throws a knife, which symbolises a kiss, and takes you onto a crucifixion on top of the platform, which is the most powerful part of the whole scene. And to signify the moving of a stone, we have a big walking globe, so I'll jump on top of that, move the globe away, and then come back. And then for the resurrection, we have the Diablos flying high in the air, and then coming back and finishing with some flag poi, sort of swirling around, just a sense of joy.
The events of Holy Week, of course, were very painful, but also very precious to Christians. Do they worry that you're making fun of it?
I've never had that. I've always had the opposite, to be honest, where people, they kind of come up and say sort of how moving it's been and how it's made them sort of look at it in a different light, really. The hardest part is the bit from the garden, sort of walking round. I think at that point, my emotions start to wobble a little bit. I think I'm thinking about what was Jesus thinking at this point. It's really hard not to cry, sort of when you're doing that, really, because the emotion just overtakes. It's a wonderful show to do for me, because I have about a month of just solely focusing in on what Holy Week means.
Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who were selling and buying there. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. He said to them, "It is written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer,' but you are making it a den of robbers."
Just opposite Bradford Cathedral is the headquarters building of the charity Christians Against Poverty. It was established in 1996 by John Kirby, and among other things, it helps people who've fallen victim to poor lending practices.
So I often think of seeing Jesus there in the temple overturning the money lenders' tables, and it just feels to me like that's really the kind of stuff that we're doing. The system that brings people into debt and ruins lives, it was ruining lives then. It's the same now, and we're doing Jesus equivalent, we'd like to think, in today's society.
So what sort of pitfalls do people tumble into?
There's so many different loans out there available to people. You've got mortgages and all that kind of stuff. And then at the kind of the more extreme end, you've got payday lenders and all that stuff of short-term lending with extortionate interest rates, etc., etc.
What are you able to do?
We sit down with people and then we begin to work with them on a solution, organise a budget with which they can feed their children and pay their debts off slowly, bringing them to a state of becoming debt-free.
Putting in more than you need to so that you're actually saving.
And here we are at the start of Holy Week. So if Christ was here now, what would he be saying? What would his challenge be?
I'd like to think he'd come to Cap in Bradford, but I do know he'd be amongst the poor and he'd be standing up for broken people. And I think it's that that inspires us at Christians Against Poverty. At the end of the day, we are servants of the living God. Our heart is to serve the church, to serve the Lord, and to serve the poor, and see this nation change through a bunch of people who love God.